gifts? Yes, you can. Come right on up here with that. What do I owe you? I gotta hold something. We're gonna do them first. Yeah, no problem. You got it, buddy. You got it. Thank you. Mike, you want a steakhouse muffin?
A nice cranberry corn.
Oh, they're very good. You might want one before the night's over, yeah. Thanks, Jimmy. Oh, I'm ready, yeah. We ready? Yeah, go.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, ready to start? Okay, welcome everybody to the, what's today, the 12th? The March 12th Board of Selectmen meeting. Everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We're going to take some of the items out of order tonight. Mr. Burke is sick. I'll be standing in his chair tonight. And we'd like to do the police appointments first. Chief Kersey, do you want to come on up?
All right, so we have two appointments before you. We have two openings. One was Officer Dean left to go work for another department. And then we have Officer Bencourt that recently retired this month. So there are two current positions that are funded that we have vacancies for. We did a complete vetting of the candidates. We did a assessment through MRI. They came out, did a one-day assessment, and independently graded all the individuals. I picked the top three to go forward. One of the top three resigned from the process. He worked for another department, decided he was gonna stay in that department. So you have the top two candidates after that one in front of you. The first appointment's gonna be Trevor LaCase. He doesn't need to go to the academy. He's a self-sponsor through the MPTC Police Academy. He graduated in August 2017. He currently is attending Northwich University and will be graduating this year with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He's an active member of the Vermont Army National Guard. He's been in it for 5.5 years. Background check revealed something that he didn't tell us during his process, that he received a Distinguished Service Ribbon from the U.S. Navy as a Sea Cadet Corps in 2011 when he was 16. As a petty officer, he saved his commanding officer's life from choking and received an award for that. So that's Trevor. The next candidate is an in-house candidate.
Sounds okay, huh?
Yeah, Sean McRae. He currently is a part-time dispatcher for us. He's been with us since 2011. He's a full-timer in Foxborough right now in dispatch. He has all the training for dispatch, so in the future we'll be able to keep utilizing him to dispatch as an officer too, so he can help out there. He's been a great employee for the past 7 years. Couldn't think of a better candidate to put through the academy. He will need the academy, but again, he's an internal candidate, and I don't mind investing in good talent. And I think he'll be a great addition to this department. Both of them will be. So I would make the recommendation that both of them get appointed tonight.
Any questions, Mr. Reel?
None at all.
No, I think we're fully prepared to take the chief's recommendation on both those gentlemen, so I'll accept the motion, Mr. Reel.
I move to appoint Sean McRae to the position of police officer for the Mendon Police Department. His start date will be the first day of attendance at the MPTC Police Training Academy on April 2nd, 2018, with a rate of pay of $868.16 per week.
Step down in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I move to appoint Trevor Lacasse to the position of police officer for the Mendon Police Department. His start date will be March 14th, 2018. Step one with a rate of pay of $970.30 per week.
Step down in second. Any further discussion, Mr. Reel? All those in favor? Aye. All right. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. Okay. Do we want to do a quick photo op? Yeah?
Congratulations. Yeah, let's do a quick photo.
Okay. We close enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's look this way first. All set? Thank you very much. Thanks again. Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right, see you soon.
Celebrate, go team. Family out.
That's one of the most fun things we get to do, Mr. Reel, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the appointment of more folks. We have 3 candidates for the 2 open seats for the Finance Committee. We have Nicholas Ciantra. Is that yourself, sir? Okay, great. John Hodgins, affectionately known as Jack, and Mr. O'Brien, Matthew O'Brien. Okay, so let's see, we should just take them one at a time?
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with Mr. Hodgins if we can. Kim, we're getting kind of an echo here. I don't know if we can kill that, or it's kind of driving me crazy.
Good evening.
How you doing, Jack? All right. So the first question I always like to ask a potential FinCom member is just kind of what's driving you to consider volunteering for the town in that particular capacity?
Sure. Mr. Chair, I was actually responding to a note that was in the town crier canvas for volunteers that appeared some time ago, looking for some help on the FinCom. So it was in response to that I filed the application.
Okay, great. And do you have any particular experience that you feel is relevant to the volunteer position?
I believe so. I've been here a resident of the town now for over 20 years now. My wife and I have raised our families here, and men and our children grown out of the house. And like I think a lot of folks, they find themselves in a position with an opportunity for more time to dedicate to the post. I'm a member of the bar, and I have not only a law degree but a degree in management from Boston College with a concentration in finance. So I think I could get up to speed very quickly on it. I've certainly had an opportunity to discuss the role with the FinCom and members of the FinCom as well. I know that Board of Selectmen is very familiar with that role as well, having worked on it and understand the intricacies of the budget. And basically, I think if Mendon stands for anything, it's making the tough calls to live within its means, and sometimes that becomes difficult. And as this board knows, those are sometimes difficult calls to make under the circumstances where the town may not be flush with money. And I think in my role as a former prosecutor, I have the ability to make tough calls like that as well, without fear, without favor, and call them like you see them.
That's a pretty good answer. He's got the time, the CPU power, and educational background.
Answered my questions without having to ask them.
Okay. And I know Mr. Hodgins, and I'm certain he would be an excellent candidate for the role. So I actually don't have any other questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. I've seen you at various meetings in the past, and you've answered the questions that I have, so.
Terrific.
Okay,
Well, thank you for the opportunity and your consideration.
all right, cool.
Appreciate it.
So we'll move on to, well, let's take Mr. O'Brien next. That is really annoying.
All right. Members of the board, how you guys doing tonight? All right.
Myself.
Happy to be here.
I'll let you start this time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Matt, what is your interest in serving on the Finance Committee?
Sure. So right now I'm currently a sophomore at Suffolk University, your alma mater in Boston, double majoring in history and politics, philosophy, and economics. That's PPE with a minor in finance. So really my whole life growing up in the town of Mendon, about 20 years I've lived here, I've taken a keen interest from an early age in the interworkings of town government. When I was a junior in high school, I had the opportunity to go to Boys State, experience that firsthand, go to Boys Nation, and learn how the policies work on a state and national level. In addition, I've been coming to town meeting since really before I was eligible to as a voter, since I was a young Boy Scout, from Hayden over here. So I've seen firsthand how this goes on, and I understand that tough decisions have to be made in order for the town to succeed. Now, in regards to the Finance Committee, I have experience working with finance. I'm a senator in the Suffolk University Student Government Association, a member of the Finance Committee there, where we see a $600,000 budget appropriated to different clubs, about 80 or so different clubs. So I see it on a more micro level than the town of Mendon. But I truly believe that the bedrock of a strong town is strong finances. And I want to get involved, and I want to step up, because I really think that it's time for people that are my age to really step up and show that we can lead this town as well. So.
Okay. What specific knowledge or assets do you have that you believe will benefit you serving on the committee as well as benefit the town?
Sure, so we'll start with the town. I think that the way I approach problems is very unique. My major at Suffolk University, one of them, politics, philosophy, and economics, it teaches me to see things in a three-dimensional way. So you look at things politically, the real-life ramifications of certain decisions. You look at things philosophically, the logic behind the decisions. And you look at things economically, the numerical and fiscal impact of the decisions. And I think today that's a viewpoint that is lacking so much, that three-dimensional way of going about problems. A lot of people see things in a binary way, either black or white or liberal, conservative, whatever it is. What we have to do on the Finance Committee is see that people's money is being spent appropriately. And I think that there's really no ideology that goes behind that. It's being able to see things from a different perspective and understand when citizens come before the Finance Committee and talk about different issues, that you can put yourself in their shoes and walk a mile with them. And as for me, I just think it'd be a great opportunity to finally get involved in an official capacity with the town of Mendon.
And one more question.
Sure.
What do you believe the role of the Finance Committee is?
I
believe-
my question.
I believe the role of the Finance Committee, besides to recommend certain ways of spending for the town, for you guys at the town meeting, I think is to take taxpayers' money and appropriate it in the most effective way that is neither burdensome to them nor to the town. So I think it's making the best decision for each party involved, and I understand that there will be times where that is not possible, where there will be disagreements, but I'm ready to face that challenge and to fight for what's right for the people of the town of Mendon.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. O'Brien is another well-known quantity to me, right? Because I've known you since you were, right?
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, guys.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Ciantra. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. I hate it when people mispronounce my name, so I always like to check.
Yep.
Yeah. You want to start again? Go ahead.
Sure.
Give-
I'll ask the same questions.
There you go.
So why are you interested in serving on the Finance Committee?
Well, I've lived in Mendon for 20 years. I've raised 2 children here, and I'm at a point now where I have the time and the bandwidth and the interest to give back to the town that, we've enjoyed living in for so long. I've had 2 children that went through the school system. One is out of college, one is almost out of college. So it's really a time for me to say, okay, I can give back to the town now, where I'm not carting them off to Little League games and dance recitals and all the rest.
Sure. So, again, what knowledge or assets do you have that you think will help you serve on the Finance Committee as well as will better serve the town?
I work for a large insurance company. I manage a fairly large team in a multi-million-dollar budget. I have an MBA. So I'm used to dealing with both a wide variety of people and understanding kind of different perspectives that different folks have that they come to the table, as well as managing a large budget that I'm, hands-on responsible for.
Why did you pick, so it's interesting the way you described that, because that's kind of what I got to in my life too, where, the kids are moving off and you get a little bit more time and they got their own licenses, they're getting around, and you have time to give back, right? And so obviously you got many choices of ways that you can give back. So why did you choose the Finance Committee as opposed to something else?
I think because the town has been so good to me and my family, we've really enjoyed living here, and the people that we've met and the friends that we've made. And it's just an opportunity, instead of kind of doing something else, is to give something back to the town and try to help where I can. So I think I could help the town, and I'm happy to do it if you guys select me to be a part of it.
Final question, what do you believe is the role of the Finance Committee?
I think it's to represent all the taxpayers and all the different parties involved within the town. People come from a variety of different needs and wants, and I think as part of someone who would be an official of the town is to represent all the constituents in the best and fairest way that I can.
Well, I just have one more question myself. What is it, what do you think is the number one financial challenge that Mendon faces at the current moment?
I think obviously there's a fair amount of infrastructure needs that the town has, as well as the education budget that's just constantly growing, and healthcare costs that continue to drive. So we have fixed costs that we really can't control, that are just kind of driving the budget. So it makes the discretionary spending really tough, because to try to manage that with these fixed costs that just continue, as well as kind of the infrastructure the major infrastructure needs that the town has. So I think it's balancing those things that are really difficult.
That is a big one. The roads are certainly high up on that list, aren't they, Mr. Real? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Morali, can you come and give us the recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Good evening.
Hi, Mr. Morali.
The board, our Finance Committee interviewed all three of the candidates and found them all impressive, but based on the order in which they applied and their background and experience, we had a recommendation for all three. We recommended that the first two candidates, that the first and the third candidate that you interviewed, were the ones that we chose for the two positions, and then we wanted to strongly encourage the board to consider appointing Mr. O'Brien to the capital expenditure, the CapEx committee. I think that would be a good spot, a good place for him to start, especially where he's in school and doesn't live in town all the time, because he's away at school, and there are less meetings, and might be a better fit for him at first. So that was our recommendation as a board as a whole.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien, you mind to come back up real quickly? How do you feel about the potential to serve on the CapEx committee? Not that we're ready to appoint today.
I'm very excited to serve any capacity, really.
Yeah. So I don't know how many open spots we have, but that would certainly be helpful. It would. Extremely helpful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I'm inclined to follow the recommendation of the Finance Committee, particularly where Mr. O'Brien's flexible enough to join that other committee, and actually that's quite good. Did we determine whether or not I can still serve on that committee at the same time? Okay, because we need to. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll look forward to working with you on that then.
I think you should be required to serve on it.
Thank you.
You don't have enough to do.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay, so I'll accept the motion then in that vein, if you'd like.
All right, so-
Actually, we got to make two motions, right?
Right.
Okay.
I move to appoint Nicholas Ciantra to the Finance Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2019.
Step down in second. Any further discussion, Mr. Reel? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And I move to appoint John Hodgins Jr. to the Finance Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2018.
Step down and second. Any other further discussion on that one?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, welcome aboard. And so, Ms. Newman, can we get on an upcoming meeting agenda for a potential appointment to the Capital Expenditures Committee?
Can you send me an email just replying to that committee, and then we'll
Okay.
try to get a meeting of the committee together to maybe get a recommendation, and then we'll get it up.
Perfect. Yep. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. All right, let's see. Shall we do the Eagle Scout citation? I love these. You want to read it?
If you would read
You'd
it. that would be-
provide to it? Okay, that's no problem. Okay, Mr.
It's
Belleville.
not quite capable.
Whereas in this era when traditional precepts of faith and morality appear seriously threatened, it's refreshing to find wholesome American young men who support and respect our sacred institutions. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America instills teamwork and leadership qualities in young men, further promoting the development of strong character, good citizenship, lasting friendship. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America have made vital contributions to the youth of Mendon through training in the art of living in the great outdoors while building self-reliance. And whereas Scout Aidan McAllister Belleville earned a minimum of 21 required merit badges. Now, I know the minimum is 21. Did you actually earn more than that? 43. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, very nice. So that 21's the minimum. Required merit badges and 23 other merit badges, and served his troop in a variety of leadership roles. Aidan has completed his Eagle Scout Leadership Service Project by leading a group of scouts and adults in constructing a bridge in Upton on the cross-country course for the Nipmunk cross-country team, and totaled 159 volunteer hours. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Mendon, Massachusetts, do hereby on this date, March 12, 2018, award this citation to Eagle Scout Aidan McAllister Belleville. Congratulations, Aidan.
Congratulations.
So I will be more than likely attending your Eagle Scout Court of Honor, and we'll have the official citation at that time, all signed by the Board of Selectmen, and we've recently upgraded our presentation on that, haven't we? Yeah. All right, I'll be looking forward to that. All right, thank you very, congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Okay. What shall we move to next? MRI, we might as well, do you want to do the auditing firm?
I was waiting for them to arrive.
Oh, they're not here still?
Right.
Okay, fine, so let's go ahead in order. We'll do the MRI presentation next. But if they show up, I think I'm gonna wanna pause that discussion and take care of them and then move back onto the MRI. Okay? Hello, sir. Do we have props for this? Oh, okay, that's that letter, yep.
So you have before you our letter, Municipal Resources, Inc. letter of February 12th, which we were asked by the Board of Selectmen to query the 3 interested parties who submitted proposals to provide shared and integrated services within the Mendon, Massachusetts Fire Department. And the inquiry asked what would be the estimated cost to provide 24-hour fire EMS coverage at the Mendon Fire Station. So within there, the following tables provided below showed the response from each organization. And I'll read them for the record, but Blackstone's proposal, their initial proposal was $783,834. They anticipated no additional cost to man that 24 because that was within their original proposal that they made. Hopedale's initial proposal was.
Sorry, let me ask a quick question there. So is that's exclusive of the redirection of ambulance receipts, is that right? So it would be the 783, 834 plus ambulance receipts, is that right?
No, it is not. The ambulance receipts are separate.
Okay.
It would be part of their proposal would be to recover, the ambulance fees, but it's not tied into this number.
Okay. Okay, so what you're saying is, it would be 783, 834 plus the ambulance receipts?
Plus the loss of the ambulance receipts.
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
okay, yes. I was going in the opposite direction, you were going the other direction.
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying, that's all.
And then Hopedale, their initial proposal was 720,000. And they then came back and said 24/7 Mendon station coverage would be an additional 365,000. And for a total of 1,085,000. And Uxbridge come in, their initial proposal was 410,000. They would need an additional 215,000 to provide Mendon station coverage 24 hours for a total of 625,000. And then below that, it shows the proposed staffing on duty with the Mendon station being covered. So Blackstone currently had 3, they would add 2 for a total of 5 on shift. Hopedale currently had 4, they would add 2, that would give you a total of 6. And Uxbridge had 3 on shift, and 2 for 24/7 coverage would bring them to 5. In addition to determine the cost of the staffing of the Mendon Fire Station, we also looked at the National Fire Protection Association standard that would apply to Mendon Fire Department on what staffing and response model that they would fall into, to give the board, an idea of what they fall into. And that standard's known as the Standard for the Organization and Deployment of Fire Suppression Operations, Emergency Medical Operations, and Special Operations to the public by volunteer fire departments. And we found that NFPA 1720 is the appropriate standard for that. On page 2, I go a little further, and the 1720 standard addresses functions and outcomes of fire department emergency service delivery, and that includes response capabilities and resources. It also contains minimum requirements for managing resources and systems, which includes health and safety, incident management, training, communications, and things like pre-incident planning. So that the standard, however, does not address tactical operations at a specific emergency. So it doesn't tell you how to fight fire, but gives you recommendations on your staffing. Mendon falls under NFPA 1720 for the following reasons. Mendon is considered a combination fire department because it has emergency service personnel comprising less than 85% majority of either volunteer or career membership. And Mendon is also defined as a rural area because there are less than 500 people per square mile. Mendon has 322.6 people per square mile. So those are the figures we use to come to that conclusion. So below that is a staffing and response chart. It's table 4.3.2 within the NFPA standard. And when we were comparing it, if you look down to the shaded area which says rural area, less than 500 people per square mile, the recommendation is to try and have at least 6 people show up at a scene, and within 14 minutes, 80% of the time. So that's the standard that you would look at for Mendon. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So, if we back up to the first page. Yeah. So looking at that graph, I'm confused as to how the numbers work there, right? So it says current number on staff. I don't understand what that means. Current numbers in the first proposal?
On duty.
No, I understand that, right?
Yeah.
But in the it's current number on staff in the current proposal, or current number on staff right now, actually in?
Current number on shift right now.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
I think what you're saying is on the second chart,
Yeah.
current number on shift, is that what you're looking at,
Yeah,
first
it's
column?
exactly what because that's confusing to me.
So to me, that means in their proposal, before we asked for 24,
That's what I thought it meant too.
that was their original?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand it that way, but yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Okay, that's, okay, yeah. Because my understanding is that the current Uxbridge proposal for 7x24 coverage includes 2 people on staff, 7x24, in the Mendon station,
Right,
correct?
yes.
Okay. All right, so based upon that, I don't understand what this 3 means.
3 is the number that they propose that they have on duty 24 hours in Uxbridge.
Oh, I understand, okay, got it, yeah, all right. Got it, okay, so that middle column means exactly what I thought it, so actually you're saying all 3 proposals provided for 2 folks in the Mendon station 24/7 to provide the 7x24 coverage.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you now, okay, that was confusing to me, all right. Okay. Okay, so what's before us tonight is simply a discussion, Mr. Reel, a decision as to whether or not we want to continue to move forward to discuss. Doesn't mean it's a vote to do. It means it's a vote to discuss or continue to look into a potential shared services agreement, an IMA, intermunicipal agreement with one or another one of these particular communities. Now, as I understand it, as we sit here today, Blackstone's out.
That's my understanding, yes.
Hopedale is clearly extremely expensive. And based upon understanding the recommendations and the documentation that we've got so far, although it doesn't come out and say it, my impression would be, and I don't know what your impression is, Mr. Reel, that MRI would, if they were going to recommend one of these 3, it would be Uxbridge that you'd recommend. Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, do you mind to just summarize the reasons that MRI believes that's the case?
Sure. When you look at all 3 proposals, they all really did bring in good proposals, but when you look at the bigger picture of what they have to offer and the cost associated with it and how they approach it, Uxbridge just really stood out above all the others. The cost of, $1,085,000, and I will tell you that Hopedale gave their proposal based on, the chief told me that, look, I'm gonna give you the full manpower that I think I need, okay, at this cost, and he understood it was gonna be a higher cost. But he said, this is what he thinks he would need for it, to do the project. And then when you look at Uxbridge, they're pretty much proposing the same amount, one less person, but they can do it for just under $500,000 less.
Yeah.
But it's not just money, it's the proposal that they made, how they would staff, how they would train, and all those items too, so that, money isn't the sole factor.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you bring that up, because actually, my fiscal analysis of the options here, if we assume that we would consider or entertain the Uxbridge route, even at that number, considering the lower number and not having to have our own command staff, it would still cost us more to get this level of service, even doing that. But it would cost less than the same service level done in-house, and that's really where the analysis came down. So we don't save money by making this change. Okay, so now in your study, the very last recommendation was to consider intermunicipal agreements,
Right,
right?
correct.
And do you agree that this is what we've done here?
Yes, it is. And if you recall on my original presentation to you, we talked about this being, one of the big steps is getting to a point where, you want to make a decision on whether it piques your interest enough to continue on.
Right. Okay.
And you'll also be able to, if you did go forward with it, I just want to caution you about the numbers. They're very broad numbers, right? Because, there's different approaches that they're looking at. I just don't want anyone to come back and hold you to those numbers. They're correct in the way we're giving them to you and the cost, but you've still got a lot of work to really narrow down the numbers.
For sure, yeah, these are budgetary.
Right.
They're just budgetary, I get that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, I think I said in the past that if we're going to explore this, we need to know concrete details, and in order to do that, we need to narrow it down to one other town we're gonna, work with and figure out exactly what those details are gonna be before we can really decide if we wanna go forward with it. So I think that's kind of where we are, is narrowing it down to the one proposal and then hashing that out further.
Yeah, it seems to me like the different proposals, well, Blackstone's out, but the delta between Hopedale and Uxbridge, it's just so far apart that it makes it easy to decide
And
you really
to
only
hear
get.
that their MRI's, investigation of the training and all those other aspects, they think Uxbridge is better equipped to do that, then kind of makes sense to me to.
Okay,
go
so
that route.
do you have any more questions at this point? And if you don't, I'll, you can have a chance to think about it. I'll
Yeah,
take some
I don't have anything right.
at the moment? Okay. All right, so now I will entertain some questions from the folks here at the meeting. I want to caution people that I'm expecting civil discussion, respectful debate, and I will not tolerate for an instant anything that's not both of those things. Okay, I'll start with this woman here who put her.
Leslie Burnham, Millville Road.
I'm sorry, Laura.
Leslie
Burnham,
Burnham,
yeah.
Millville Road. Thank you for hearing me. Anyway, the totals, thank you for verifying that excludes the EMS revenue. That was my first question. So that's on all three towns, correct?
Yeah, and if you want to know, we're currently budgeting for ambulance receipts in FY19 of $191,500. So if you want to know that, that's the number we're budgeting.
Around 200.
Yeah.
And my other question was comparing this proposal to the January 22nd one from Uxbridge, the 410, which is the same, the 215 is the new proposal. It says in the January 22nd that the 410 plus benefits and operation costs. So is that in addition also with Uxbridge, their benefits and operation costs? That's my other question.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the answer to that, but I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is.
No, hold on. So it is worked and factored into the deal, but it's not in that number, okay? So benefits are separate, right? So we will not have to pay benefits on our side, but we will then have to pay some of the benefits for them. But the approach that Uxbridge is taking is to take an average, right? Some people have family plans, some people have single plans. There's a big difference between those two. So we will calculate an average, and we'll pay an average times the number of people that staff this station is what Mendon will be responsible for. And having done the math that I did, my estimate is that when all is said and done, when you include the ambulance receipts, when you include the benefits we just talked about, and the $625, that the end result is about a $100,000 increase in spend to do this, as opposed to what we have now. Okay? Now, that, again, that's just budgetary numbers, just making some guesses and rounded some figures.
Which is all we can really do at this point.
That's right, yeah.
Also, I have one more question.
Certainly, go ahead.
Also, with the current, number on shift for each town, does that include their chief officers? Or is that just the fire?
I'm not sure I followed the question. Did you?
Are you saying?
She wanted to know, like, is the fire chief and the deputy chief part of that number?
Well, see, that's how we do this and not pay the same amount if we did it in-house, because we don't have to have dual command staff. That's the whole idea.
But she's asking, is that number including them?
Being there.
Right, it's probably not.
It's not.
Yeah, I would have to ask, I'm not sure of that answer, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, let me emphasize that no decision has been made on this. This is still major exploration territory, right? So we won't be able to answer a lot of specific detailed questions because we haven't asked the questions yet, and I appreciate you raising it, because we can think to ask it. Anybody else would like to ask a question, comment?
Deborah Phipps, 15 Main Street. I'm curious, how does the staffing really differ then? Because we now have 24-hour coverage, and if we need mutual aid, we have another town available, just like it'd be the same thing, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, do you mind restating? Do you mind to stand up, because I'm having trouble hearing you too? Yeah.
For example, Uxbridge has got their station staffed with 3 people. If they staff Mendon with 2 people, we currently have 2 people staffed there at 24/7 anyway. So what is really the difference?
Oh, okay, well, the difference is actually quite large, because we don't have the same certification levels, same qualification levels on a 7x24 basis that we potentially have here. And even if we did, we don't have the bench strength to cover for sickness, for vacations, for all the things that you have to deal with. Now, I did find out today, I will have to say, and I have to absorb what I heard, right? Is Chief Harris still here? Oh, there you are. So we spent quite a lot of time talking to a couple of the guys today, and I understand that there are some potential other workarounds around that we will discuss and we will absolutely consider. So I don't want to say for absolute certainty that what I just said can't be accomplished in-house. I want to discuss that further. But it was just this afternoon. I mean, we're not 2 hours ago.
Well, I have a couple other questions.
Go ahead.
Looking at the study, I'm sorry. I have a whole ton of them, but I'm trying to just kind of look at what really is relevant to this conversation. One of the things is, in the study, it said that the department had a lack of formal training, and I don't understand that, because I hear regularly on the standard that there'll be training. And I know my husband goes to training, so I don't understand why they're saying there's no formal training within the department.
I don't know that I want to be in the position of defending the MRI study, but I'm more than happy for you to direct that question to the MRI resource.
The training that they refer to is the training that, like going to the Mass Fire Academy and passing the fire training
So
program.
everybody hasn't
No.
done that needs to, that's on the fire department now, hasn't
Not
done
it- no.
whatever training they.
Not everyone on the department is certified.
Why aren't they being sent?
Sean, I'm having trouble hearing you. If you could speak into when you
Okay.
respond, just speak into the mic.
I said to her, not, what it refers to is the certification of firefighters, which is required. And that's basically them attending the Mass Fire Academy recruit program and becoming certified to meet the standards to be able to fight fire. And that's true throughout both the full-time and call firefighters. Not everyone is certified to that type of level.
Right. Yeah, one thing I do want to avoid doing here is that, you know, I really don't want to relitigate the MRI study. Even if we were just give me 1 second, okay? Even if we pretend that the MRI study is half wrong, a full 50% wrong, we still have significant challenges to resolve. So I don't really think that a detailed anatomy of the MRI study is going to be instructive or helpful here. But I will entertain a couple more questions if you have them, Ms. Phipps, but I don't want to go too much further down this path.
Well, what I'd like to know is, if we're not gonna go by the study, why are we taking MRI's input on how we're gonna do this? Because aren't they going on, isn't that what they're doing?
I don't understand what you're saying. We're not going to, what do you mean we're not going to go by the study?
Well, no, you're telling us not to talk about the study because it was half wrong. Well, if it's half wrong,
He didn't
then
say-
why would we be going about the, why would we be taking?
No, I think you're missing my point. What my point is that even if you assumed that study makes 52 recommendations to improve significant issues that MRI decided determined we have. 52. If we assume that they were wrong on half of them, let's just pretend you could argue half of them away, you still get 26. It's still a significant problem. I'm not saying we're not going to follow the MRI study. I'm saying that it is significantly instructive, the MRI study, that it's not worth picking the details apart because there's enough there to be significantly concerned about. And we have to address it.
Will Uxbridge fulfill those 26 that you're talking about? That
Interestingly enough, they already do.
do they fill every single one of them?
Now, I don't want to say every single one of them, but I can tell you now that the Uxbridge proposal, and talking to the Uxbridge police chief today, fire chief today, it is unbelievable how many of those things in the MRI study they are already doing. Yes, ma'am.
Just ask one more question.
Absolutely.
It's to do with this. So then, why aren't our firefighters being sent to be certified by the town? Why? They want to.
Okay, that is a, that,
I just wanted to put it out there.
yeah. That is a very complicated, multidimensional answer that would require me to discuss people, places, and things that I really do not want to do in a public forum. But suffice it to say that just because there are 52 recommendations in that document about things to fix, by no matter of means can you blame the department for all those 52 things that need to be corrected. I mean, the Board of Selectmen, even us, I mean, we've only been able to move so fast to correct things. Certainly, we are culpable in some of those things as well, as we sit here today.
Right, there's always room for improvement for everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
Not saying that.
Correct. Yeah. Frankly, this isn't about blaming anyone. This is about correcting some issues that we felt we had.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments on this particular topic? Okay, all right, Mark, you want to make a motion?
I move to explore shared fire services with the town of Uxbridge.
Step down at second. Any more discussion, Mark? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, audit firm, are the folks here?
I think so, yes. We haven't met
here
in
we go.
person, so, thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Here,
Thank you, sir.
here's the sheets.
What are they?
That's just the number sheets that I'm gonna gloss over. So as you know, we sent out an RFP for audit services a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks back. We received 3 bids for service for FY 18, 19, and 20. I did background checks on each of the firms and spoke with some of the members of the firms. Roselli, Clark and Associates had the lowest bid, and they had the best recommendations, both from our current financial team, including our accounting service and our financial advisor, and I spoke with the previous manager in Upton who praised the service greatly for her transformation when she came on board there. So I'm very excited to appoint this firm this year. They have also agreed to take on FY17, since we will be switching auditors immediately.
Okay. Now, they say you can have good, cheap, and fast, and pick any two. You can't have all three.
We got
So does that mean you're gonna be slow?
That's terrible, but
All right, great. And obviously, this is your recommendation
Absolutely.
to appoint these guys?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I have any questions. I mean, we've talked about
clearly-
this before you and I talked about this before we got here, so I don't have a ton of
I've been
more
talking about this for a number of years, so I'm very excited to see this change take place.
questions. Yeah. Okay. And so this would take effect, what, immediately?
Immediately, when we sent out the RFP, the current firm had asked to be released from their current contract for FY17.
Oh,
That's-
so without right now?
Right, so that will actually be the next vote you make on the agenda, but I've asked Roselli and Clark if they would take that, and so they provided an additional number for us for FY17, so that
Okay,
they
so
can.
where's that?
It's right on the sheet.
Oh, got it, okay.
You'll
yeah.
see, so,
That's the 15?
yes.
Okay.
We currently budget a little over 15 in the line each year, so we will have to put a slight increase in. I've already adjusted it for 18 and 19, well, for 19.
What are the numbers to the far right? Because,
That's just the totals,
well, how can that be right?
because one has an extra, it's a substantially.
Oh, the extra year.
Yeah.
The extra year's there.
Correct.
That's just not like-for-like comparison then.
Well, I had to add one last.
I'm a little slow. I can't believe you did that to me.
Okay, anyway,
All right, I don't think I have any other questions,
I
Mr.
don't.
Reel. I don't know about you.
No.
I'll accept the motion.
I move to enter into contract with Roselli, Clark and Associates, Certified Public Accountants for providing auditing services for FY17, 18, 19, and 20.
Step down at second.
I like that.
This is the easiest meeting I've ever been to.
Stick around.
So you haven't even said anything. I haven't even heard the sound of your voice. So before we vote, introduce yourself to us.
Gentlemen of the board, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Terenzio Volpicelli. I'm a certified public accountant and representative with the firm of Roselli, Clark and Associates. Been a CPA for roughly 20 years, engaged in this line of business for the last 10. Previously, I was actually in private industry.
Sorry, you said you private
I
industry?
was in private industry for a number of years, and I started my career off at the firm of Deloitte & Touche for 4 years. I actually live right up the road, so this was actually, which I tend to service Upton for the last several years. And as a firm, we've grown significantly, and some of our biggest growth has actually been here in Central Mass.
Like closer to you, will you? So you said you do Upton? Now, didn't you say, Kim, more than just Upton around here? Who else around here do you do?
Let's see, we do Holliston, Upton, Harvard, Maynard, Blackstone we picked up last year.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right, what else we got there?
So then the next vote is the releasing of the previous auditor from their contract.
Okay, yeah.
I move to rescind the current auditing contract with R.E. Brown and Company, Certified Public Accountants.
Step down at second. Any further discussion on that?
No.
Okay, so essentially, they've already withdrawn. They're doing nothing, right?
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, now we have discussed FY19 budget. Now, I suspect that maybe these folks want an updated copy of the budget if we have it?
I printed some in the back. They're not stapled, but they are back there. It's about 6 pages, and I've got about 7 copies up here. There's 2. Yeah.
It wasn't that hard.
So I'm just gonna go very quickly because there's been no substantial changes.
Okay, can I ask you a couple questions before you go through it?
Yes,
Okay. Is the maintenance personnel in here or not?
yes.
Okay, what other non-level service items are still in here?
School resource officer,
Okay, and just for the record, school resource officer, Chief Kersey, so we're gonna get an increase from 20,000 to 35,000 from the school, and then we're gonna have to chip in how much for that school resource officer? 15 grand, isn't it? Something like that?
We're already receiving 20. Can we come up?
Yeah, please, yeah. Just so people know.
So we're already, it's complicated, because we're already receiving 20. We're gonna go up to 35.
Yeah.
But we're gonna need 50,000 for the position, because we already received that 20. But the caveat with it is we've been telling them throughout the time that we're gonna eventually lose that 20 if we don't put someone in there. So right now, we put someone there part-time. So if we don't do anything in the future, we're eventually gonna lose that 20. So really, what's on the line here is the full 35,000.
Right,
So,
understood.
and if we lose that 20, then really all we need is the 30.
But let's be crystal clear about something, though.
Yeah.
I know we're off on a little bit of a tangent, I'm sorry, excuse me for 1 second while I do. No, I know you're not, I know you don't have a problem with it, I'm just saying, I know we're going off on a tangent. But Chief, really, realistically, the reason to do this isn't necessarily to keep claim on the 20,000. We know
No,
that
we need,
given the.
I've asked you every year for this position. The previous chief has asked you every year for this position.
That's right.
10 years ago, we had a full-time school resource
That's right.
officer. 2010, the budget crunch happened. We lost it. We haven't had one since. And I mean, with the atmosphere around the country right now, I mean, do we want to keep rolling the dice each year and saying, let's not do it?
Shootings and everything,
I
we
mean,
absolutely gotta have somebody that.
We're on borrowed time with it right now.
Okay. And to be crystal clear, this school resource officer just handles the schools that are in Mendon, even though we're a district. They handle Clough and
Correct.
Niskuna,
Monday
right?
through Friday in the schools. They will be devoted to the schools. Their time off will be dictated by the schools. So when the school has time off, they have time off. They essentially will mirror the school. They'll be there for them all the hours they're open. They'll handle everything at the school, so it actually helps the rest of the department too. Because now I'm not calling a detective or having a patrol guy go to the school. It's building relationships with the school, which we need in today's time and era. It's needed every year. I'm gonna keep asking for it until we get it.
So the two things, the school resource officer, the maintenance, by the way, interesting thing, when I was visiting Chief Harris at the fire department today, you could actually see outside, up in the corner, from inside. So just as an example of stuff we need, so, okay, continue on, what else is not level service?
Overlay. There's $30,000 in here for overlay, and that's it.
30,000 more?
Yes.
Okay.
So-
Well, we don't really have control over
So
that.
there's about so we had almost $700,000 worth of requests from the departments. There's only $130,000 in this budget. So there's like 11 left, right, at this moment. That's sort of,
In case anybody wants to know what overlay is, the assessors put aside money that's called the assessor's overlay to cover for abatements, people that can't pay taxes. It may be for the tax abatement program where elderly or military personnel work for the town, and we give them money off their taxes for that. So that's what the assessor's overlay is for. Okay, cool. And so that's it, those three things?
that's it. We'll be meeting with FinCom again Wednesday, and then we have a joint meeting scheduled for the 26th to finalize the budget.
Has the FinCom, Mr. Morali, voted on this yet, or, okay, but you've reviewed it though, right?
We reviewed most of it, and the one question I didn't get a clear answer to as of tonight, what is the increase for the school resource officer cost to the town? In other words, we know how much we're paying now to get a part-time officer, and then to get the full-time officer, the school is increasing their give.
Yeah.
But what's the additional cost? Is it 15K?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I did start out asking that question, and Chief Kersey deftly avoided the answer.
It's not, it's gonna be 50,000 right now, and if,
Additional.
they're gonna pay half of the position.
Right.
So, but right now, they would give us currently 20, and they give us 15 more, so the agreement was always, it used to be they pay half the position.
So they're giving 35
Yeah.
now.
But the position will
So
come,
they were-
No.
when we
But
get
they're
the,
going to give, but they're going to give
35.
35.
okay, and then the
Right now,
balance
we're
that the balance the school officer will cost us is how much more? How much are we adding?
50,000. Because the 15.
50,000 more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, depending on benefits.
Okay,
If we have a single, it's gonna be
$8,000 less.
8
Okay.
grand less.
Right.
Okay, good, that's it.
70,000 for an officer. Half of that is 35.
Perfect.
Right. So that's 35 that the town's paying towards that officer, and we're already paying 20 of it, so it's really only a $15,000 increase.
No.
No, not if they make 70, not if total cost is 70,000.
Yeah, but we're already.
Because we're increasing the position back.
I understand.
And right now they're paying part of a position that, so they pay us 20, we put someone in the school, but right now, I give them 50%.
But as a
at that
result
time.
of this, you're adding an additional officer to take care of it. You're not
Back in the school.
you're not redistributing somebody you've already got.
No.
You're adding an officer to
Adding
take
an
care of it.
officer, someone's gonna go in there, and we're getting the time back from the part-time officers doing this, and then we're up to staff.
Right.
We're
That's
getting the time, so it's hard to value that, we're getting the time back.
I was confused on that at first, too.
Well, I think it's the way you describe it, because we, like you said, we're adding another full-time body.
Right.
But what's gonna happen is we had that, one of the current offices, half on the schools and half on the road, and now we're gonna have two full-time.
That's
on the
right.
road. Right.
That's right. Okay, cool. All right, anything else more you want to tell us about the budget?
No.
Okay, when do you foresee us needing to get to the point where we finalize our vote on the,
March 26th,
That's the goal,
yes.
all right,
because we're gonna finish vetting the budget Wednesday night, and then we'll have that joint meeting like we did last year.
right,
to-
good, yeah,
To go through it from top to bottom.
right. And then we can make any changes live on the fly that we want to discuss.
So then we
We'll
can
be both
go to the warrant and get that.
Excellent, okay. Anything else on the budget?
Because it is such a tight budget year, you will see that there, in that list of $700,000 on the back are things that we sometimes do fund. For instance, reserves for negotiations, which we are not able to actually fund in this manner. I just want to bring your attention to that if it's something that you want to prioritize.
You mean if there's an item in there we want to prioritize?
Right,
Well, I mean, you'd like to, but we don't.
right. So just so you, these are the other things on the list that we have discussed.
Okay.
There's no increase, oh, that's on the list. Road
What-
materials.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
It is
particularly
what it is.
frustrating one.
That it is what it is.
Yeah, Alan was telling me today how beat up he was getting, but, you know, he's working flat out.
Right.
Good thing we got the hot box, that's for sure. Okay, all right, I guess the only other thing I want to point out for the fire folks over here is that you'll notice that the fire department budget is exactly like it's been every year. This budget assumes we continue on like we are, just so it's crystal clear. Okay? If the point comes to where we're actually gonna recommend something different, recommend a shared services agreement, then we would have to change the budget, and the town would have to vote to appropriate the money instead of to the fire department, we'll have to appropriate it to the agreement. But that is not here because it's not in the cards yet. Okay? Okay, anything else on the budget? Any questions? Okay, good. All right, what else we got?
Warrant.
Is that it? Warrant, okay. And we have a copy of that here?
I'm flipping. Okay, very early first pass. Articles were due today, so
Okay, yeah.
feel free to circle, cross out, repeat, find things.
I always do.
I know you do, so, but I'm saying it's okay.
Thank you for your permission on that.
Okay. So Article 1 is the same, Article 2 is Chapter 90, Article 3 is salaries of elected officials, Article 4 is the budget. Waiting to hear, oh, thank God, life is back to normal again. What is it? What number do you want it to be?
Okay, what article number it is, I really don't.
Oh, thank God.
What was it last year? Was it 3?
I don't know, I moved it, and it was like all, God forbid.
Yeah, you
the
rocked my
article
world.
number.
Yeah. All right. So slow down a little bit, so make sure anybody watching this,
Okay.
they know what these articles are, okay?
Most
So
of these are articles we do every single
I
year.
understand.
They're part of the operations of the town. They're administrative in function, setting up our budget for the next fiscal year.
Right, so, but just so people understand, so Article 1 simply just identifies if anybody wants to change the budget and increase a line item, you have to specify where you're taking it from. in order to come out with a balanced budget, right? And then the Chapter 90 funds, what did we say that was gonna run about, 300,000 again?
300.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so go ahead, you can pick up from there now. You're on Article 5.
Article 5 is the assessor's cyclical inspection program.
Okay, let me ask a question on that one. At one point, that cyclical inspection happens in a 5-year cycle, once in a 10-year period,
I know,
right?
but I think we're up.
And we had decided at one point to take the total cost of that 5-year program and divide it by 10 and spread it across every year to make it an operational expense, as it should be. Are we doing that or not?
Yes, it has its own line item.
You guys still doing that? Yes. Okay, it was 6,500 at one point. Is it higher than that now?
It's 6,500.
Okay, cool. Yep, thank you.
Okay, update valuation account. We just spoke about that. And then the next couple are revolving accounts. The Taft Library, Planning Board, Highway Department, Conservation Commission, Police Matching Grants.
Okay, so hold on, before you get off the revolving accounts. All right, now, my understanding is we need to have bylaws for these revolving accounts now.
Right. We didn't adopt something last year that we need to adopt.
Okay, so it's later on in here?
Cindy's working on it.
Okay, fine. So we would still need these articles in addition to the bylaw?
We have to adopt that we're going to do the bylaws. It was something that was supposed to be on meeting last annual.
Okay, all right. So more details to come.
Yes.
All right.
OPEB, if we have any money available. 5-year land use program, scenic roads.
Excuse me, scenic roads?
Scenic roads.
Yeah, what's the deal there? Just adding streets to the scenic road list, is that it? Okay, who's put forward this? Oh, Land Use Committee.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
I think it's just Hopedale Street.
Is the addition.
oh, okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
You want to explain 15, Mark, since you're on land use?
So that's just money that was transferred out of the land bank account, and it wasn't used, so it's going back in the land bank account. It was voted to plant some trees along Route 16, but it wasn't done because of the uncertainty of that property,
Okay,
so it's not going to be done. So instead of just having it sit in an account, money
Needs to
just
go back
sitting
to
there
land
that's not gonna be used for that, it's gotta go back to land bank.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have enough money to be sitting around unused. Okay.
The Council on Aging is requesting money to replace the furnace at the senior center. They're also requesting money to do an expansion study.
Wait, but did you skip 16?
Yep,
Oh, sorry.
that's just a,
Pheno transfer of the portion
Oh,
from
that's a
CPA.
standard annual, yeah, okay. You don't happen to remember off the top of your head how many more years we got left of that, do you?
No,
Okay.
it's not that many, I don't think.
I wanted to say 3.
Yeah, I think we're getting down to the,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Article 19 is a request from the
Oh,
school.
I'm sorry, backing up to 17.
Yeah.
I talked to Bill McHenry because of the Green Communities, and I don't know where that stands, but I think that needs to be worked out with Bill
Okay.
on any sort of energy upgrades, because when we did the audits on these buildings, that was not something that was needed.
Okay.
So I think it just needs to be looked at a little further.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. 19 is an article request from the school to create a stabilization fund.
Okay, explain more?
I can't really explain more.
Okay. So they're gonna create something, but we don't have to,
There's an entire paragraph of detail from Jay about why they need the creation of this
no,
thing.
I don't mind creating it, my problem is funding it.
Oh, well,
So what are we
They
creating?
wanted to use money they were getting reimbursed by the
Right.
state for building doing a renovation or building the high school, wasn't it, something like that? And they want to keep the money for the school?
Right, but I'd rather have them explain it.
Okay, as long as this doesn't mean that we're committing to fund money into the stabilization account.
Right now, all it means is that we're leaving this article on, so we can get some more information.
Yeah, I want more information before
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with this one.
Article 20 is the Trask property that's been offered to the town. We're still working out all the details on that.
Okay. I thought we voted on this already.
Trask? No.
Okay, so this is the land that was willed to the town of Mendon if the selectmen chose to accept it from the death of Mr. Trask. Okay, could have sworn we had this discussion already. Okay, all right.
Article 21 is to change the town clerk position from elected to appointed.
Okay.
Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in doing that at this town meeting.
Mark?
I mean, we've got, the election for that position is in May. So,
I'm comfortable with waiting, if that's what you're looking for.
I think we can wait.
Okay,
My bigger concern is the highway surveyor.
me too. Well, not the actual surveyor, but the position of surveyor.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe we should clarify that both of these positions are currently staffed by competent and excellent employees, but both of their tenures in the position are coming to an end. And so as the positions become vacant, we want to ensure that the town has the proper method in place in order to appoint in those positions. Highway budget is one of the largest budgets in the town, and it's currently run by a person who is elected. And even though now we have a very competent and qualified individual, that may not be the case in the future. So we'd like to consider changing that position to appointed so that we can have more control over the budget and the direction of the department.
Okay.
Okay. 23, it looks like a enterprise fund for the water department. Gonna eat some crow on that. Was waiting to see if they were gonna get it done in time. This is fast, so. Oh, wait, Board of Health is on here too. Yeah, fast. Fire station capital improvements, Chief Harris and I met. He's got a list of estimates for things. I'm putting this on as a placeholder for now until I get some more detail back.
What's your recommendation gonna be there, to hit the CapEx account?
Yeah. Potentially.
All right.
There's a placeholder for Paddock. As you know, we're gonna go out to RFP from the grant, the PATH grant that we got for the housing project over at Paddock. We don't know right now whether or not we're gonna have to, also use housing funds from CPA or something else, so we just have this here in case there's another, we need some sort of mechanism to spend from those accounts. Or potentially lease the land and or sell the land. There's a lot up in the air. Okay. This is putting the start money back. Mark, you can handle this.
This was money that was set aside to purchase the Starrett property, and we know that didn't happen, so instead of having that CPA money sitting in that account, it'll go back to the budgeted reserve. And that's $400,000.
Which that reminds me that, that we should have a discussion about using an encumbering method instead of creating all these accounts for these things. I mean, we really need to do something about that, because it's just messy the way we're doing it right now.
Yeah, this is what has to, right, this is what they're doing to clean it up, because this is how it.
Well,
has
for
to
now,
work
but
right
if
now,
we
right.
had an approach where we just encumbered the funds and didn't actually transfer them into its own account, this
Right.
becomes less difficult.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Okay. Article 27 is the Affordable Housing Coordinator stipend.
Yep.
Article 28 is the payment of CPA for the police station.
What?
You both made little noises. Article 29 is, Rich, this will be your area. This is the estimate for the replacement for whatever is happening in the library basement,
Well, why is it my area?
because you're the subject matter expert
Wait a minute.
here. So that's the.
What
cur-
Ms. Newman is referring to is that I spent an afternoon in the basement of the old rectory, heating up the room to melt the frozen ice that kept the library from getting water. Okay, cool. So this is, so we're actually gonna have to upgrade that panel to do that.
This is why I put it on here, because I knew that you,
Okay, well, as long as we're doing something that we need to kind of do anyway to use the rest of that building space, then okay, but I hope that's the case.
I'd say that's doubtful at this point, but that's it, we can.
Well, okay, I'm not sure, I'm sure I'm down with this idea.
Well,
but
it's
anyway.
on there now.
It is
until
on,
we
yeah,
Take it off.
all right.
Okay. 30 is to expend the leftover money from the fire station bond on the Complete Streets project. 31, 30.
So
Wait a minute.
so let's just explain that one quickly, so if
Sure.
anybody listening. So what happened there was we discovered that, and this actually came out, the fire guys might remember in some of the negotiations, that we found that there was 181,000 of unexpended funds from a previous capital project and a CPA fund that, in a fund that we did. So it turned out that we needed to spend that money in order to restructure the debt from which it came. So that's what we're doing here. We're
And it had to be allocated to another capital project.
Correct.
And something that was going to be spent immediately.
That's right.
So it was an immediate capital project.
That's right. Couldn't go to recurring expenses.
Right, and because we received a $400,000 grant for Complete Streets, this seemed like which will be happening soon. This is the most likely.
Okay, good?
location.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan has a number of requests on here. 30,000 for a wood chipper, 14,000 for the salt shed roof, 175 for a sidewalk trackless, and 80,000 for a new F-450 dump utility with plow.
I know what
So he's got his.
What's the current CapEx balance?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say 400,000. I could look it up.
Okay, I'd be surprised if it were that high. but-
Yeah, it's rate,
Okay.
probably not enough to buy all these things.
Well, not all of them, but
Some of
something.
them. The roof,
Well, could you double?
Because of a change in the salt supplier, them having more frequent regular deliveries, now what he wanted to do is just reshingle it. That's all he needed.
Yeah.
So that was a savings. So that took it out of the CapEx expenditure because it's under the 25K, so.
Well, I'm less ruffled about that than I am the two new vehicles totaling $250,000, right? And we only have so much CapEx money, and I think we mentioned that Chief Harris needs potential, in a previous article, some stuff over at the fire department, so. Ms. Newman, do you mind to just, when we get a
305.
chance to- Oh, okay. All right. That sounds
was
more like.
that your question?
Well, it was gonna be that, and I wanna know what 3% of the,
It's 512 is the target,
Okay,
300,000
thank
is
you.
what we have. What else?
oh, that's it. So just so you understand what the target, why the target's 512 is because the
Right.
recommendation for CapEx balance is 3% of the annual operating budget, and that equals 512, and that's why I asked that question. Okay.
All right, what is this? Oh, this is the Board of Health's, they want to have an enterprise fund so that they can potentially look at lowering trash fees if there's an excess in their account, rather than having the money to transfer back into free cash. And I'm guessing they need both of these for that. Enterprise fund and then the last one is a request from Chief Harris for turnout gear for the department. That's what it looks like as of today.
Okay, so I'm concerned about all the revolving / enterprise funds. I don't like them. We've talked about them before, I don't like them, and I'm inclined to.
Chairman, we had the discussion twice with the Board of Health the last few years. And I think the issue is the recurring concern that trash fees should be right-sized so that, you know, it's a fee, and the fee is supposed to cover the trash removal and nothing more. And to prevent that opportunity of moving the money and making sure at the end of the year, you know, it doesn't go back into free cash, even though, you know, this would give them the ability to change the trash fee as needed. Because we had one time last year or the year before where there was a significant drop in the, you know, in the tonnage rate.
Yeah.
Because of the renegotiation. And the money was there, and the attempt was to use it for something else. And we wanna
What's your sense of the FinCom position on that?
What's that?
What's your sense of the FinCom position on this topic?
That would be one, you know, we're not particularly thrilled with anything that, you know, is off budget, so to speak, but I think that one, for that reason,
Okay.
would be okay.
Okay, anything else on the warrant?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I think that concludes our open session business, doesn't it? Oh, actually, no, there is one more thing, right? Okay, so one of the items on our agenda could be either executive session or open session, and that is completely up to Mr. Taft. So whatever's more convenient or comfortable or amenable to you, happy to have it in open session or executive session, whichever you'd like to do.
Executive session, please.
Okay, yeah. All right, so let's make the motion then, because I think that concludes our open session business then,
does.
right? Okay, all right. All right, where is the motion? Here it is. Okay, I move to enter into executive session for two purposes. Purpose one for executive session, MGL, Chapter 38, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Mr. Taft, and purpose three, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Shared Fire Services / Mendon Town Hall, Local Union 272, Mendon Highway Department, Local 272, that's just interesting, it's the same number, is that a mistake?
No.
They're both the same?
Yes.
Okay. 272, Mass Coalition of Police, AFL-CIO, Local 188, Mendon Police Civilian Dispatch, Union Local 188A, and Mendon Permanent Firefighters Union Local 4936 IAFF.
Second?
Okay, roll call needed. We intend to reconvene only to adjourn? Mr. Macaro? You don't see any reason for us to return to regular session?
No.
Okay, we'll reconvene only to adjourn. So can you second again, I'm sorry?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?